Selections from the complete works of Swami Vivekananda, Part 28, Reply to the Calcutta Address. Section 2. The highest ideal in our scriptures is the impersonal, and would to God every one of us here were high enough to realize that impersonal ideal. But as that cannot be, it is absolutely necessary for the vast majority of human beings to have a personal ideal. And no nation can rise, can become great, can work at all without enthusiastically coming under the banner of one of these great ideals in life. Political ideals, personages representing political ideas, even social ideals, commercial ideals would have no power in India. We want spiritual ideals before us. We want enthusiastically to gather round grand spiritual names. Our heroes must be spiritual. Such a hero has been given to us in the person of Ramakrishna Paramahamsa. If this nation wants to rise, take my word for it, it will have to rally enthusiastically round this name. It does not matter who preaches Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, whether I or you or anybody else. But him I place before you, and it is for you to judge, and for the good of our race, for the good of our nation, to judge now what you shall do with this great ideal of life. One thing we ought to remember, that it was the purest of all lives that you have ever seen, or let me tell you distinctly that you have ever read of. And before you is the fact that it is the most marvelous manifestation of soul power that you can read of, much less expect to see. Within 10 years of his passing away, this power has encircled the globe. That fact is before you. Judge him not through me. I am only a weak instrument. Let not his character be judged by seeing me. It was so great that if I and or any other of his disciples spent hundreds of lives, we could not do justice to a millionth part of what he really was. Judge for yourselves. In the heart of your hearts is the eternal witness, and may he, the same Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, for the good of our nation, for the welfare of our country, and for the good of humanity, open your hearts, make your true and steady work for the immense change which must come, whether we exert ourselves or not. For the work of the Lord does not wait for the like of you or me. He can rise his workers from the dust by hundreds and by thousands. It is a glory and a privilege that we are allowed to work at all under him. From this, the idea expands. As you have pointed out to me, we have to conquer the world. That we have to. India must conquer the world, and nothing less than that is my ideal. It may be very big, it may astonish many of you, but it is so. We must conquer the world or die. There is no other alternative. The sign of life is expansion. We must go out, expand, show life, or degrade, fester, and die. There is no other alternative. Take either of these, either live or die. Now we all know about the petty jealousies and quarrels that we have in our country. Take my word, it is the same everywhere. The other nations with their political lives have foreign policies. When they find too much quarreling at home, they look for somebody abroad to quarrel with, and the quarrel at home stops. We have these quarrels without any foreign policy to stop them. This must be our eternal foreign policy, preaching the truths of our Shastras to the nations of the world. I ask you, who are politically minded, do you require any other proof that this will unite us as a race? This very assembly is a sufficient witness. Secondly, apart from these selfish considerations, there are the unselfish, the noble, the living examples behind us. One of the great causes of India's misery and downfall has been that she narrowed herself, went into her shell as the oyster does, and refused to give her jewels and her treasures to the other races of mankind, refused to give the life-giving truths to the thirsting nations outside the Aryan fold. That has been the one great cause that we did not go out, that we did not compare notes with other nations. That has been the one great cause of our downfall, and every one of you knows that the little stir, the little life that you see in India begins from the day when Raja Ram Mohan Roy broke through the walls of that exclusiveness. Since that day, history in India has taken another turn, and now it is growing with accelerated motion. If we had little rivulets in the past, deluges are coming, and none can resist them. Therefore, we must go out, and the secret of life is to give and take. Are we to take always, to sit at the feet of the Westerners to learn everything, even religion? We can learn mechanism from them. We can learn many other things. But we have to teach them something, and that is our religion. That is our spirituality. For a complete civilization, the world is waiting for the treasures to come out of India, waiting for the marvelous spiritual inheritance of the race, which through decades of degradation and misery the nation has still clutched to her breast. The world is waiting for that treasure. Little do you know how much of hunger and of thirst there is outside of India for these wonderful treasures of our forefathers. We talk here, we quarrel with each other, we laugh at and we ridicule everything sacred, till it has become almost a national vice to ridicule everything holy. Little do we understand, and heart pangs of millions waiting outside the walls, stretching forth their hands for a little sip of that nectar which our forefathers have preserved in this land of India. Therefore, we must go out, exchange our spirituality for anything they have to give us. For the marvels of the region of spirit, we will exchange the marvels of the region of matter. We will not be students anyways, but teachers also. There cannot be friendship without equality, and there cannot be equality when one party is always the teacher and the other party sits always at his feet. If you want to become equal with the Englishman or the American, you will have to teach as well as to learn, and you have plenty yet to teach to the world for centuries to come. This has to be done. Fire and enthusiasm must be in our blood. We Bengalis have been credited with imagination, and I believe we have it. We have been ridiculed as an imaginative race, as men with a good deal of feeling. Let me tell you, my friends, intellect is great indeed, but it stops within certain bounds. It is through the heart and the heart alone that inspiration comes. It is through the feelings that the highest secrets are reached, and therefore it is the Bengali, the man of feeling, that has to do this work. Uttishtata, Jagrata, Prapya Varannibodata. Awake, arise, and stop not till the desired end is reached. Young men of Calcutta, arise, awake, for the time is propitious. Already everything is opening out before us. Be bold and fear not. It is only in our scriptures that this adjective is given unto the Lord. Abhihi, Abhihi. We have to become Abhihi, fearless, and our task will be done. Arise, awake, for your country needs this tremendous sacrifice. It is the young man that will do it. The young, the energetic, the strong, the well-built, the intellectual. For them is the task. And we have hundreds and thousands of such young men in Calcutta. If, as you say, I have done something, remember that I was that good-for-nothing boy playing in the streets of Calcutta. If I have done so much, how much more will you do? Arise and awake. The world is calling upon you. In other parts of India, there is intellect, there is money, but enthusiasm is only in my motherland. That must come out. Therefore, arise, young men of Calcutta, with enthusiasm in your blood. Think not that you are poor, that you have no friends. Whoever saw money make the man? It is man that always makes the money. The whole world has been made by the energy of man, by the power of enthusiasm, by the power of faith. Those of you who have studied that most beautiful of all the Upanishads, the Katha, will remember how the king was going to make a great sacrifice, and instead of giving away things that were of any worth, he was giving away cows and horses that were not of any use, and the book says that at that time Shraddha entered into the heart of his son Nachiketa. I would not translate this word Shraddha to you. It would be a mistake. It is a wonderful word to understand, and much depends on it. We will see how it works, for immediately we find Nachiketa telling himself, I am superior to many, I am inferior to a few, but nowhere am I the last. I can also do something. And this boldness increased, and the boy wanted to solve the problem, which was in his mind, the problem of death. The solution could only be got by going to the house of death, and the boy went. There he was, brave Nachiketa, waiting at the house of death for 3 days, and you know how he obtained what he desired. What we want is this Shraddha. Unfortunately, it has nearly vanished from India, and this is why we are in our present state. What makes the difference between man and man is a difference in the Shraddha and nothing else. What makes one man great and another weak and low is this Shraddha. My master used to say, he who thinks himself weak will become weak, and that is true. This Shraddha must enter into you. Whatever of material power you see manifested by the Western races is the outcome of this Shraddha, because they believe in their muscles. And if you believe in your spirit, how much more will it work? Believe in that infinite soul, the infinite power, which with consensus of opinion your books and sages preach. That Atman which nothing can destroy, in it is infinite power, only waiting to be called out. For here is a great difference between all other philosophies and the Indian philosophy. Whether dualistic, qualified monistic, or monistic, they all firmly believe that everything is in the soul itself. It has only to come out and manifest itself. Therefore, this Shraddha is what I want, and what all of us here want, this faith in ourselves, and before you is a great task to get that faith. Give up the awful disease that is creeping into our national blood, that idea of ridiculing everything, that loss of seriousness. Give that up. Be strong and have this Shraddha, and everything else is bound to follow. I have done nothing as yet. You have to do the task. If I die tomorrow, the work will not die. I sincerely believe that there will be thousands coming up from the ranks to take up the work and carry it further and further, beyond all my most hopeful imagination ever painted. I have faith in my country, and especially in the youth of my country. The youth of Bengal have the greatest of all tasks that have ever been placed on the shoulders of young men. I have travelled for the last 10 years and so over the whole of India, and my conviction is that from the youth of Bengal will come the power which will rise India once more to her proper spiritual place. I, from the youth of Bengal, with this immense amount of feeling and enthusiasm in the blood, will come those heroes who will march from one corner of the earth to the other, preaching and teaching the eternal spiritual truth of our forefathers. And this is a great work before you. Therefore, let me conclude by reminding you once more. Arise, awake, and stop not till the desired end is reached. Be not afraid, for all great power throughout the history of humanity has been with the people. From out of their ranks have come all the greatest geniuses of the world, and history can only repeat itself. Be not afraid of anything. You will do marvelous work. The moment you fear, you are nobody. It is fear that is a great cause of misery in the world. It is fear that is the greatest of all superstitions. It is fear that is a cause of our woes, and it is fearlessness that brings heaven even in a moment. Therefore, arise, awake, and stop not till the goal is reached. Gentlemen, allow me to thank you once more for all the kindness that I have received at your hands. It is my wish, my intense, sincere wish to be even of the least service to the world, and above all to my own country and countrymen.